Sini and Kyla, welcome to our episode 2 of Leading and Purpose series entitled Balancing Wellness and Leadership, a holistic approach for middle managers. I am Clarisse Valenzuela and I am the consultant of Human Dynamic Philippines. As we welcome the year of the wooden dragon, our episode for today will explore the victories and challenges of the leaders, and we will discover the transformative impact of integrating wellness principle into their leadership practices. Our speaker for today is a wellness counselor who delves into a vital connection between personal well-being and effective leadership. He earned his master's degree in guidance and counseling from Holy Angel University on the year of 2018 and currently pursuing a doctorate in clinical and counseling psychology. Beyond academic excellence, he holds the distinction of being a licensed professional mental health counselor since the year of August 2018, underscoring his unwavering commitment to upholding high standards in the mental health profession. With over 12 years of counseling experience, our speaker has actively participated in various global platforms, including engagement in London, United Kingdom, Australia, and Dubai. This international exposure exemplifies his commitment to fostering positive behavior and mental health on a global scale, particularly within the workplace environment. Let's welcome our speaker for today is none other than Manuel Torres. Hi, Manuel.
Hi, Miss Clarice. Thank you for having me.
We
Such a
are
kind introduction.
we are grateful to have you here today. For sure, our viewers from Facebook and LinkedIn Live are very excited to learn from this episode. So, for the first question, how do you believe that the integration of wellness principle can enhance the leadership effectiveness of the middle managers?
hmm Well, again, the whole topic in general is it's very interesting. So, thank you so much for having me on board and just to share my knowledge. I am by no means the end all be all expert in this area. I think I just have practical knowledge in terms of what works with the people that you work with and stuff like that. Wellness principles are very important in terms of the leadership role because you have to understand that the people that you work with are the reason why a company thrives. It is your people are basically the elixir to your success. So it goes to it's obvious to want to invest in the people that you work with and the people that you work for. So in ensuring that you maintain their productivity by ensuring that their needs, you're watching for their difficulties and wanting to support them in every way, shape, or form. It just ensures that your leadership role is more responsive, it is more people centric, and overall, without looking at the numbers, it has always yielded better productivity, better job satisfaction, and just overall a wonderful culture to have. And if I've been fortunate enough to be mentored and supervised by people who are very people first and who value wellness above everything, and I try to implement that strategy in the people that I work for or people that are under me, people I supervise. And so far I've received um, no complaints so far, and that they appreciate the way I approach them, and in a way that, and I'm not a superior, more so a colleague who's just trying to guide you through and make you become the best employee or worker or therapist or counselor, if you will, that you can be. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Sir Manuel. Yeah, I agree with you that we should prioritize the well-being of our employees, and it's important that we listen to them, we communicate to them,
Yes.
and we understand how they work and what's their need for in order for them to perform at their best. So
Hmm.
which leads me to my next question. In your experience, what are the some effective work-life coaching techniques that made managers can employ to support their team members in achieving harmonious work-life balance while excelling in their professional roles?
Well, it's going to be a long-winded answer. So, there's no short way of answering that. It's a long discussion, and I don't think the discussion has ended on that. There's really no definitive way of saying that this is the best approach. I think a caveat of answering that question would be it depends on the organization's needs. It depends on the type of skill set that your employees have. It depends on the goals that you're trying to meet, and all the numbers and all that aside. I think generally what worked for, at least in my approach, is it's to understand that number one, the people that you work with, the people that you supervise have their own motivations, their own way of feeling that they're being recognized, feeling that what they're doing is of value. So, as a best practice, you have to understand how your, how the people that you supervise feel that. How do they feel success? How do they feel that they're being productive? So there's that initially. So in understanding exactly what those needs are, now you'd be able to develop a mechanism to now reward that. If I am driven by a sense of having more control, if as an employee I want more creativity, I want more agency over how I work, and if I am given that, then all the reward mechanisms that follow that should be able to reward that. So in showing creativity, in showing initiative, for example, in one instance, a company should be responsive to that type of attitude, to that type of approach. So that mechanism is very important. Knowing how your employees are motivated and knowing how to reward that is very important. That is just going to keep the productivity mechanism sustainable. So instead of just squeezing every ounce of productivity out of the people that you work for, your employees, you're now able to keep that fire burning in them. So I found that's an effective strategy. Um, the second thing is just trying to level with them. Take an interest in their lives. The people that you work with, your employees are people too. So I've found that not being as detached as other leaders probably will see as a skill that they want. You want to maintain that certain distance from your employees, the people you work with, professional boundaries, and all that. I get that, and those are very important. But it is also important to have some form of connection with the people that you work for, your employees, because again, they are people, they value connection. And when they feel like you're invested in what they're doing, when they feel like um, you find importance in the choices that they make, the decisions that they make overall for the organization, it's just going to make the whole process a lot easier. It's going to make your function as a leader much easier because now the people that you serve are now more responsive. They're more likely to consult with you when there are problems. There's not going to be that barrier between you when there's a fear of, the fear of failure, the fear of not meeting productivity targets, stuff like that. So if that barrier is broken down a little bit or is just minimized through connection and communication, I found that was one of the best ways I pushed my team forward in terms of meeting goals. And another thing is just be more mindful of um, the potential of burnout. Your if your organization is a well-oiled machine, then it goes to show that it makes sense to assume that at some point in the future that machine is going to run out of fuel. you know that machine is going to eventually break down, and it's your job as a leader to know what those symptoms are, how to again identify those symptoms, how to incorporate or implement proper interventions to address that. So if you want your company to remain productive, if you want your company to remain th- to meet your goals at us, long term, you have to understand the language of sustainability as well. So wellness is part of that. You need to be nourishing your employees, the people you work with, so they can continue growing with you. And if you care about them, well, the most obvious benefit of that is they would stay with you. They would be more invested in putting in their effort, their time, years of their lives into making your company better. So if you invest in them, they invest in you. And if you give them training and all the other resources that you can probably provide your employees, it just makes for a better organization. You'll feel better too, knowing that you're, I don't know, it depends, I guess, with people, but I like to make the people around me feel good about themselves. It's one of the reasons I became a therapist as well. But it's very important for me. Should I be Well, I've run a team before, and I found that that was a very effective strategy for me, at least, my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Manuel. I think what you're trying to say is the concept of psychological safety. So it is important in the workplace culture that we establish the way we communicate to them, wherein they feel safe to express their thoughts, their ideas, and their concerns without fear of negative consequences.
Yes.
So for the third question, when assessing the success of a holistic leadership approach, what key performance indicators or metrics would you consider most valuable, both in terms of individual well being and team productivity?
hmm Again, very that's a complex discussion as well. But if I can just point out very key one of the key metrics of seeing that your leadership approach is working, I think you need to be measuring your employees' self-efficacy. That's very important. um, you have to know whether or not they feel confident in what they're doing, to feel confident and competent in the functions they're fulfilling, whether they feel fulfilled in the functions that they're doing, whether or not they feel rewarded. So, the conversation about job satisfaction and all that comes into play. Um, it's also very important to measure their engagement with what they're doing. So that means measuring how well they feel rewarded about what they're doing. It's just overall, because your productivity is contingent on their efforts, your team's efforts and all that. So it makes sense to ensure that you are measuring the exact way they feel valued, the exact way that they feel that what they're doing has purpose. So for me, self-efficacy, work engagement, the ability to measuring how they want to be rewarded as well, measuring their needs and all that. Those are very important.
Yeah, I also completely agree with the importance of productivity, efficacy, and efficiency in the workplace. So, what stood up to me in your response is your emphasis on the work satisfaction and engagement as a crucial success indicators. So, it's not just about hitting numbers but creating an environment where people are engaged, satisfied, and the quality of work is maintained. So,
Yeah.
for the fourth question, middle managers often face unique challenges in balancing demands of leadership with personal wellness. Can you share the specific challenges you have encountered and the strategies you employed to address it while maintaining your own well being?
Hmm, okay. Yes, challenges. Facing challenges and maintaining your own well-being is quite the challenge as well, to say the least. I speak from experience when I say that it is very difficult to find the balance between that, because when you're dealing with situations like that, you are using up your own resources. You know, you're using up your well-being. I call them well-being dollars. You sacrifice your own well-being when you expose yourself to certain situations like that. So again, you have to be more mindful of your limits. You have to be more mindful of how much you can actually how much of that you can actually take. And when you employ strategies, you have to have certain key principles in mind, I think, before I answer. It's just um, be responsive to the problem, and just try to not exactly dumb it down, but just reduce it to a few points that you need to do. And recognize that even if there's a problem, you're not always going to have all the solutions in hand. So either you ask for help, assistance, or support, or just find a way to let some of those things go. You're always not going to solve everything. There will be ongoing troubles and conflicts in any organization. So as long as the ship is afloat, you don't have to put out every little fire, because that takes a lot out of you. So it's either someone else has to step in, and support you, or just find a way to um, detach. Very important. Detaching is important. Let it go. I know it's harder than it sounds, but that's a very important skill to have. In my case, since we're very people centric, so it makes sense that sometimes the people that you focus on are sometimes your biggest problems, your biggest issues, because again, the uniqueness that makes us great is also what makes us difficult sometimes. We have different motivations, we have different ways of feeling valued and all that. So if that need is not being met, someone's going to have some qualms about that. Someone's going to have to say things like that. And sometimes what they need is not something that the company can provide at that moment. For example, naturally, that happens all the time. We try to be as responsive as possible, but there's a few gaps there that are just difficult to fill. And as a leader, sometimes you're stuck in a between a rock and a hard place, as they say. You're supposed to meet your team's needs, but at the same time be an advocate for the company in ensuring that your team is working well. So you're just right there. It can feel very isolating, to be honest with you, to be in that position. So what I did, for me, the best approach that I found was to, again, as I've said before, try to level with the people that you work with, know their motivations, know exactly what they want out of, what they're asking for. And then if you know exactly what those motivations are, you can probably not give them everything that they need, but find a reasonable compromise. Find a way to um, help them keep motivated, provide that support, again, within your means and the company's means. But what that does is, you'll probably not going to provide everything that they need, but at least you'll make them feel like you're hearing them, you're listening, you're validating their concerns. And through all that effort, and I'm probably simplifying it too much, but through all that effort, what about you? Because you also need to sustain yourself amidst all those difficult conversations and difficult meetings. When you're challenged, I found that stepping away is just the simplest, sometimes more difficult strategy to use, but it is the simplest way that you can preserve your well-being is just to step away for a while, detach. Even if it's a very hard day, find a way to inject a little fun into your routine. With me, that worked. No matter how busy I am or how bad my day is, I find something fun to engage with. Because if it's not about distraction, it's not about escaping your problems. But for some, it probably is, and distracting yourself probably is kind of an escape. But when you step away from, when you detach from situations like that, you give your brain a much needed break. And so when you give it that, you're just more likely to re-engage the next day. You know that you'll have that same problem in the tomorrow, when you clock out of work and then you come back, still there. It's not going away. But then again, you don't have to think about it 24 hours in a day. You don't have to engage with it fully. You have to, when you clock out of work physically, you have to clock out of work mentally as well. And that's a big struggle for a lot of us. You check your phone, emails when you're not working, you know. And some people, especially in the, not everyone, but I've been raised in a work culture where that working beyond hours is a badge of honor for some, especially the more advanced, our more senior um, leaders before, in my experience. So I found that that was ineffective and untrue. It's not a badge of honor, it's a problem. It's a sign of a problem. That if you're forced to do that, you're not being unproductive, you're just probably there's too much on your plate. So what best approach is to just detach, let go, find something fun to engage with, whatever that is. Go online, shop a few stuff, buy items you like. Again, to each his own. So again, detachment is very important. If you want to keep going, keep your engine going and putting out all those fires every single day, that's what you need. For me, at least, that's what worked for me.
Yeah, navigating the challenges of the job, particularly dealing with people and diverse personality and motivations, can be tough. And you are right that we should not always agree on everything, but we should learn to find to compromises. And ensuring everyone feels heard has proven to be a valuable approach. No? And it's about to understand the limits of communication and working towards solution to benefit all the parties involved.
Yes.
Which lead me to my last question. Given the challenging nature of your role as a counselor, how have you successfully maintained and plan to continue managing equilibrium between the professional and personal life or the integration of these facets?
Okay. Professional and your personal life. Again, I'm not the best at this, although I really, really try. Um, we're just passionate about the things that we do. Your work is a part of your identity, and so sometimes it's just very hard to separate yourself from that. We are our careers. When we meet someone for the first time, the first thing that pops into our head is just, what is this person's job? What is this person's career? Before we ask about their family, all that, what they like, we ask about, especially if you're an adult, what does this person do? And so you proceed to compare yourself to that person's success or something. It's not because you're insecure or jealous, but probably there's a little bit of that. But it's just hardwired in us to care about um, our careers, what we do, and so it's just very hard to separate from that. I understand that. So again, I'm not the best at maintaining that balance, but what I found for me that work was just to um, you have to allot consciously certain hours in the day that you have to spend with family, with friends, with loved ones. Um, You have to be more conscious of, again, I've said before, when you clock out, when you detach, um, when you enter your house, for example, when you come home. I found that with my other clients who struggle with the same aspect, they have this. I've recommended them to have this box at home. Like when they go home, you leave your laptops, your work laptops, and your phones, there, not touch them. Excuse me, until you have to clock in again. And if again, sometimes our work phones are also our personal phones. So if I don't think that phones are like super expensive nowadays. If you can just have your personal phone and then your work phone, just separate them, so you don't need to go over your emails and all that, and just help the separation. I found that that was effective, with myself as well. If you're a remote worker like me, who has your workplace is your home as well, so it's just difficult it's much more difficult for me to detach. When I clock out, the same place that I use for work is just the same place I take a break. So around me, um I just have, when I'm working, I just have certain items around me that provide me with a certain level of like peace. So I'm a huge gamer. For anyone who's wondering, I like to play a lot of video games. That's my main way of distressing, along with exercise, just working out, go for a run, stuff like that. But my main thing is gaming. So when I'm feeling a little bit stressed when I'm working, even though I'm not turning on my gaming stuff, for example, I try to just joysticks, if you're familiar with that. I try to just hold that for a sec. Just remind me that after this day, after this hard day's work, I can play later. And that, having something to look forward to like that, even though it's just that it's a simple thing like that, makes the difference for me. It keeps me grounded. It makes me have a higher tolerance for what I'm doing, and if it's hard work. So that's another thing that, main tip is, have something to look forward to. Plan vacations in the future, like every other month, go on a big vacation if you want. Go on leaves. Use those leave credits. Those are yours for a reason. They're there for a reason. Don't be hesitant to use them. Have something to look forward to. Plan stuff, or save up for something that you're going to enjoy in the future. I just found that that made the effort much more sustainable for me. Just having something like that to look forward to work for me. I've been able to maintain that equilibrium you mentioned somewhat, a little bit. I can still be better, but again, it's an ongoing, in progress thing. And then just recently, I've been into health psychology because of a very good class that I have, in my PhD. Um, I've been into certain, not exactly diets, but just incorporating certain foods into my usual, my usual, the food that I usually eat, and I just found that I felt better when I ate, uh, good food, like whole food. So uh, if you want to maintain that equilibrium, you have to consider all facets: sleep, your food intake, nutrition, socialization, connection. It's not just about rest, like sleep. It's not just about that, because at some point, sleep is not going to fulfill all of your needs. So you have to consider all facets in maintaining that equilibrium. If you ensure that your body is at its optimal, in absolute best shape, in regards to your physiology, the amount of support that you have around you, I just found that that was the key to ensuring that I'm working sustainably, and I guess that's how it worked for me at the very least.
Yeah, true enough that we should listen to our body. We
Yeah.
should learn to work and we should learn the work life integration, especially nowadays that there's a work from home, there's an online classes. So
Hmm.
there's no boundaries between personal life and work. So as individual, it's important for us that we know how to establish appropriate schedule, how to plan travel or engage with activities that are fun and enjoying for us. And I'd like to emphasize no that we should never forget our health as well. So we should listen to our body when we felt like we're tired already. We should learn to stop, or we should learn to rest. We should engage to different healthy activities like exercise or different physical activity like sports, or at least eat healthy diet, which will help us not only physically but also mentally productive, right? So, as we end this discussion, we would like to extend our sincere gratitude for your presence today, Manuel, and your contribution to the discussion of practical work life coaching techniques for leadership have been truly insightful. So,
Mhm.
as we wrap up this discussion, we learn to incorporate wellness principle into works that aligns with understanding the sustainable productivity and growth are crucial in achieving lasting success. Plus, the importance of enhanced communication, no, especially to the managers and to the employees, and a safe environment for the employees to express their thoughts, ideas, and even their concerns, no, without thinking of anything negative that might happen. Furthermore, you emphasize to us the work satisfaction and the engagement as the key success indicators that underscores the need to create an environment where people feel motivated, satisfied, and where quality of work is consistently maintained. And lastly, the importance of work life integration, where individuals is finding activities or hobbies that will
Yeah.
recharge them.
Yes.
So, thank you so much, Sir Manuel. And I would like to invite our viewers to follow and subscribe our Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Spotify account. And also, please take a moment to provide feedback through our survey or scan the QR code shared after this video.
Yeah.
Keep an eye to our upcoming episode for March 2024 and gain valuable insights from transformative leadership and change journey. For we at Human Dynamic, we are committed in developing leaders, building teams, and transforming an organization to be at their best performance. Once again, I'm Clarisse Valenzuela. Thank you and see you again. Bye bye.